Anyways, I guess welcome to the pre-show.
Yeah.
We filled up 7 bits of episodes, and that is a thing.
7 bits?
Yep.
Why?
128 episodes. It's a
Oh.
programmer.
Oh,
It's a programmer
sorry.
thing, Spencer. Come on.
I
Gotta get with the powers of twos.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm brain dead today. Sorry.
Anyways,
That's
yeah.
exciting.
We hit 128.
Woo.
ASCII no longer fits onto Unicode.
Oh man.
Anyways, I guess we should start an episode for real. Hello and welcome once again to episode 128 of Code Completion. We are a group of iOS developers and educators hoping to share what we love most about development, Apple technology, and completing your code. My name is Dimitri and I'll be your host once again for this episode, and I'm joined today by my fellow completionist, Spencer.
Hey there.
So, for the first time in a while, I wanted to do another indie app spotlight because there were 2 apps that there's one app that I hold dear that got a major update, and there was another brand new app, which I guess counts as an app. We'll just call it an app, but like serves a need that I have forever wanted. So the first one is Solver. Solver is a kind of like a scratch pad that does calculations for you. So as you take notes, every line is essentially a mathematical equation. So it will just go ahead and calculate the results for you, which is like, turns out the way I like to use calculators. And I have, to my accountant's chagrin, done all my taxes in Solver for like years now because it's just easy for me to like just lay it out. And he's like, have you heard of QuickBooks? And I'm like, yes. Have you considered no? So that should tell you how much I like Solver. And you should go check it out because it just came out for iPad. And there'll be a link in the doobly-doo. So go check it out and smash the like button and do the things. I don't know, what are we doing? A podcast, right? The second app is Stop the Fonts. And Stop the Fonts is a Safari extension that will go ahead and stop custom fonts from loading. This means that things will be fast, things will be consistent, and you won't have to like wait for text to load in, which I don't know why we have custom fonts on the web. It makes everything last forever, take forever to like load in, and I'm not a fan. So yeah, go check out Jeff Johnson's Stop the Fonts app extension.
Super cool. Both of those. I've never used or heard of either of them. Solver seems really cool. And Stop the Fonts, he's just got this webpage that, links to the App Store and stuff. But I didn't really realize this, but one thing he says is there are a number of reasons to use Stop the Fonts to protect your privacy because every web font is loaded through the web, exposing your IP address and possibly other information, often to third parties. So, and like Dimitri said, it'll make things load faster and stuff. But there's perhaps a privacy security element to it as well, which I didn't think about, but totally makes sense now that we're kind of bringing it up. So interesting. And yeah, I mean, he's got one on here called like Amadeus, and it just is like super serify Comic Sans looking grossness. So, I don't really see any web pages like that anymore, but the speed I think is probably the biggest thing for me. So,
yeah, from like a meh serif to a nice serif, I don't really care when I'm browsing the web. I'm sorry. So like it's nice. And if you have like a full web app, then it's probably worth it. But for like regular web pages, that's like a hard, like especially news articles. Oh boy,
yeah,
just do things take forever to load already. So, that's definitely a benefit. As far as like the tracking goes, it's basically Google Fonts and like
right.
Adobe Fonts. Like I think there are like a few others, but it's not much unless they are using fonts as a way of tracking, which is a completely different valid technique. So that's not the one that you would be hindered by visually, but it would be one to track people, which is never nice. So yeah, go check those out and please give them a download.
Love it.
In other news of things I didn't know, it turns out carriers can force you onto Wi-Fi. And this is like part of some system that just allows carriers to like offload their network capacity if they need to. And they can force you onto their own Wi-Fis no matter how bad the connection is, even when you're at home, which is very, very surprising.
Yeah, it's super weird. It's like, I don't think this happens with all routers, for example, but like Dimitri said, if it's like a company like Comcast, they have like Xfinity or whatever. Like Xfinity, I think they have like a wireless thing that they run through AT&T or Verizon or something. But like my parents used to have Xfinity at their old house, and it would just make an open Wi-Fi network that you couldn't turn off. And so I think that's what they're using is like as a guest hotspot, you could go in and it was like sign in with your Xfinity ID, but it sounds like they're just automatically kicking people over to that and you don't really have a choice over it. There's this one guy that said he was at Home Depot and it happened to him. He was sitting in the parking lot and his phone kept switching from 5G it kept switching off 5G to hop on some single bar Wi-Fi that he couldn't delete or deselect auto join for. So it's just like this
Spencer,
automatic process.
I thought 5G was going to save us all.
Look, man, it sucks because the carriers are like, nah, we don't actually want you on 5G. It's like, okay, cool, thanks. So what he said was he just turned off Wi-Fi and the problem was solved. But, you know, he says this is going to be annoying if it starts happening at the grocery store or, you know, in a bunch of places where it just automatically happens. That sucks. So I don't know if it happens with every carrier or if it's just like Xfinity or Spectrum, the ones that have a counterpart to, you know, Wi-Fi as well. But that's scary. I mean, that makes me feel good about getting like something like Ubiquity where they're not, as far as I know, doing anything like that. They have no reason to open that up because it's your own stuff and they're not doing cellular.
Yeah, and I always, whenever I get a modem from the internet company, the handful of times that I've had to, I always explicitly ask for a no Wi-Fi option. Mm-hmm. Like I don't care if I need to pull out the tinfoil hat reasoning for it just to like convince them that I don't want it, but I will. As horrible as that is, don't succumb to the tinfoil hat reasoning. But Wi-Fi is perfectly safe. However, I don't want necessarily to share my minimal capacity with a whole bunch of random people driving by. So
yeah, I was just going to mention, I wonder, I'm sure I'm not sure. I hope they've thought this through to be like, oh, we're not going to take that much bandwidth from whoever's home router we're using, but like maybe they can, I don't know, just get a bunch of clients on there and it's just sucking your bandwidth because it's open.
Yeah, at the very least, it's not like you're sharing a network with these folks, which is, I guess, to the benefit of the router you're using, right? If there's some exploit, then you're kind of out of luck. But in most cases, you should be fine. But it's surprising nonetheless that this is a capability, and it has been for quite a while.
Yeah.
It's just, it seems like as more and more internet providers are using other people's infrastructure, that in order to cut costs, they are opting to do this. However, it's going to be very funny when like all these routers are powered by 5G anyways. I guess it's more efficient in that case since you have like one radio that's talking with the tower. But talk about using the available bandwidth at that point. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Mm-hmm.
As another thing that is playing out, it seems like in an effort to remove CarPlay, GM has been advertising CarPlay all week because they don't want CarPlay in their cars, not because they have a better like solution. It's because they want to track users. They basically said so. So that is a thing. If you have a GM car in the future, they want to actively get rid of CarPlay so you don't use it, therefore they can track you, which is fine,
I guess. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of stuff. We've got 3 articles about CarPlay and stuff with like Rivian, and Tesla obviously doesn't have CarPlay, and it never has. And there was this interesting statistic. I'm maybe kind of jumping ahead. I'll see if I can find it real quick. It was like 79% of people that are looking for a car, one of their whole sort of will I buy this car or not is does it have CarPlay, which was like, yeah, I've not very seriously considered getting a new car, but when I do, I'm always like, does it have CarPlay? So I'm definitely in that 79%. So it's interesting, like GM being that way, and then there's also Rivian that say no, they're not gonna have CarPlay or uh, Android Auto. Maybe not Android Auto. I don't know. But they say that they can just do it better, and they want to have sort of that tight integration with hardware, software, and they want to do it themselves. I think my biggest thing with that is like both of my parents' cars are like built in the mid 2010s, and they both have like a basic screen
All of a
system.
sudden, it aged.
Yeah, and it's like they can't update their maps. That my mom used to get like an updated map thing that was like in the form of an SD card that you plug into the back of the screen and stuff. And it's like they're not supporting that car anymore. It's like almost 10 years old at this point. So the maps are useless. Luckily, she can plug her phone in with the lightning cable and stuff. But part of the entire infotainment system is useless because it's out of date. And like Ford doesn't care to fix that or update it. So she's just out of luck with that part. Where if it was CarPlay, Apple has sort of an incentive to always keep that going. And because it's probably way less work because they're already updating maps on iOS already. So there's like way less
And even
overhead.
even if they don't, right? Like, say you have a really old iPhone, the first one that support CarPlay, and you cannot update it anymore, right? CarPlay is stuck in time. But you're way more likely to buy a new phone at that point than a new car. Maybe not. Maybe the statistics around cars are like people end up buying a new one every 5 years because they crash them. Who knows?
But you get a new phone most people I think get a new phone like every 3 years is the statistic or something like
that. Or like maximum every 5. Like you're not really sticking with, and
it's $1,000 max.
Yeah. I mean, maybe your car is worth that amount after a certain period of time.
Fair.
Like there's like, I understand the dynamic there, but at the same time, like if you are worried about giving users the best experience, like if they don't want to use your infotainment thing, then it's not the best experience, right? At the end of the day, like if a user wants to use the CarPlay thing, it's because they have a legitimate need to use the CarPlay, as we'll go into very shortly. But like I don't understand why these companies feel like they, like GM especially, they are supporting Android Auto, which comes with like Android Auto, the operating system allows CarPlay. Mm-hmm. So they're actively preventing that, hoping that you are going to be stuck in the subvariant of Android Auto that they are running, instead of actively like doing it. Like my car, my Honda, runs Android. Like that is the operating system that's running on the little screen. But CarPlay is just a like screen sharing thing that's enabled on top of it. It's very minimal to support. And if Rivian really wants to like double down and give users the best experience, then they can double down and give users the best experience possible with CarPlay rather than just a little screen, right? That's at the end of the day what it comes down to. It's them not wanting to dedicate the time to support this thing, because then all of a sudden they might not feel the need themselves to develop their real system, but they can still do it, right? It's not like technically a hindrance in much ways, especially for a company of any size larger than a few like engineers. Like, you have the technology, you have the engineering resources. Like it's not rocket science. It's just audiovisual streaming, which could be more complicated than rocket science for like now that I think about it, having done that for half a decade. So yeah, it's hard, but you should do it anyways.
Yeah. I think Jason Snell put it really well. He said, I get the impulse to want to control everything that happens in your car if you're an automaker, but given the fact that the smartphone is everyone's real ride or die, the best choice is to integrate tightly with the supercomputer we all keep in our pockets. Like, that's the thing that actually matters, right? And that's the thing that's going to get updated the most. So if you just have the screen sharing thing that is CarPlay, then like it's less upkeep for them too. It really is, I think, like that tracking, and I don't really get Rivian's deal. I don't really probably believe that they can make a better experience than Apple can as far as software goes.
I mean, they could probably make a better map that like shows on screens that Apple doesn't know about. Like, sure, like I get that, right? But
Yeah.
at that point in time, like compete, right? Instead of just
Yeah.
not have it, and I guess Apple too compete rather
Yeah.
than just
Well,
have your one app store. Side note, um, like there's nothing bad from having these options, right?
yeah. And I think Apple wants to have maybe a tighter integration with car hardware, so like they can't, like I think I saw like a Mercedes concept car that had like was using CarPlay but had multiple screens with it
The
and
full dashboard kind of thing, right?
yeah, and it was like even controlling air conditioning and stuff. I could be wrong about that, but they've done something like that at least in concept. So
Yeah, they previewed it last year at WWDC.
oh, is that what it was? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like I think they could definitely get there. It would just again be collaboration with all of these auto makers that probably don't want to do it, so it's sort of a catch-22 there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But like at the end of the day, they're just missing out. They are missing out on the Domino's app. Because Domino's has an app that works on CarPlay where you can order pizza. Which I find hilarious, but also it's kind of intriguing because at the end of the day, Domino's was, I think they were the one to really pioneer the whole like order through the
Tracker.
web rather than call your local pizza place to place an order. No, it's go to the website and make your order, and then you can watch it on their fake tracker that may or may not be updated depending on the store location. So like they were the ones to really like try out all these different things, and CarPlay is another example of what they're trying out. And I don't have the quote like right in front of me, but the president or something said something very interesting along the lines of, this is kind of like a drive-through replacement, right? You can park, you can order, and it will just come to you. And if you're ordering through your car, it's as like frictionless as possible, right? It's not like you're driving and you like place your 17 topping pizza. It's like, no, you get to somewhere, but instead of now reaching awkwardly in your pocket to grab your phone that's already connected to your car, you can just go ahead and tap the button and get your pizza, and then just wait for it to be made without necessarily needing to interact with people, which sounds grim now that I say it out loud. But you do interact with them at the very end, kind of like a drive-through. So this is like maybe the modern, the futuristic take on drive-thrus, right? You go park instead of wait in line, and you don't need an inch, you don't need to waste gas that you probably will for your AC. And yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, that's cool though.
It's available.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun idea. On that note, I think I need to look into this more. Do you know what Cafe Rio is? Is there Cafe Rio in California?
I am unaware.
Okay,
Probably.
it's a Mexican sort of chain, food chain, whatever. I can't speak. I just saw that they opened a new one where I live, and they called it like a digital. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. It's like a digital cafe. Vineyard Digital Cafe. So I think it's kind of like the McDonald's thing. You just order on the touch screen, and like I think they just bring it out to you. So similar thing. You actually have to go in, but kind of interesting that we're moving to like away from cashews. It's just like order on the screen, Apple Pay it. Okay, they bring out your food, and that's it.
I love you bring this up because it reminds me of a thing that's very common in Japan. So you have these small little restaurants, a ramen place, this or that. And it's basically a one person shop. Like there's one person in the back making food, which means that there's not an extra person to take orders, to like do a bunch of stuff. So when you walk into the restaurant, you have a literal like ticket printing machine, like a vending machine, but it just prints a ticket basically. And you put money in and you press the things that you want, and you get actual tickets that come out of the vending machine at the bottom, and you hand those over to the chef. At that point, he's not handling money. He's not. They are not handling money. They are not doing anything with like the transaction. They're just taking your order that you submitted to them, and then they are going to make it, and they'll like bring it out to you at the very end. But it like gets rid of a whole part of the ordering process.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying CarPlay comes anything close to the charm that is that.
Sure.
But it's definitely in the same vein, right?
That's cool. Yeah. So like you pay before the tickets, like you give the ticket to them or anything.
You put money in a machine, it sucks it up, and then lights pop up depending on how much money you put.
Cool, dude.
And then as you do it, like dwindles down the lights because you're like eating up your balance, and then you can get your change.
That's awesome, dude. I love that. That's
the way
a good
it does.
idea.
It would never work in the U.S. because people would like attack and burglarize the poor one person shop. Because the U.S. is a wonderful country. But yeah, it's so charming.
That
in its own
is
little way.
Really charming. I would love to try that out. That sounds really cool.
Talking about things that are charming, Apple apparently, without telling any of us, scrapped their 27-inch mini LED XDR. But they told 9 to 5 Mac. And by told, I mean they didn't tell. It's just rumored that it got scrapped.
I'm
That's
sad.
my reaction.
Yeah. That's not that I would buy it, but the progression is sort of more what I care about. Like, kind of sucks that maybe they didn't have high enough yields or whatever, and so it's just not turning out the way that they wanted it to be. Maybe they were going to release something this year at the end of the year. Probably not going to do that now. So, sorry. It was suggested that it was going to come out in December of 2022. So it's been pushed back.
That's just around the corner. Oh, wait, that was last year.
Yeah, exactly. So then it was targeting October 2022, and then it was targeting Q1 2023, which we just sort of finished. So it sounds like there have been multiple delays, and it's just not going to happen for a 6K. Unfortunately, I know Dimitri was looking forward to that.
I think this was the 27-inch 5K.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, the 6K is still rumored to not exist because we don't have any clue about any of these things because they're all rumors. But it's fun to keep track of the rumors because that's all we got.
That's all we can do. Thanks, Apple.
We just have to hope that they're gonna improve their monitors. That said, I did see, I forgot which app it was, but I did see that someone, like one of the apps that lets you use your phone as like a camera before Apple started doing it, they kind of expanded to allow you to turn off the center stage on the studio display. Mm-hmm. And as a result, the camera looks a lot better, it turns out, when you don't zoom in on a bad image.
Sure.
So that's cool.
That is cool.
I wish I remembered the name of the app. If I do, I'll put it in the show notes.
Cool. Speaking of cameras, shocker to anyone that has not followed iPhones in the last, I don't know, 6 years. There's going to be a bigger bump for the camera. Whoa, crazy! I know, right? We've got there are basic CAD designs for the iPhone 15 Pro or Ultra or whatever they call it, and it's got a bigger camera bump. So that is a shocker to absolutely no one.
But it's a titanium camera. Actually, no, the camera bump is not a titanium. It's a titanium everything else.
That's cool. I would very much like I really like the stainless steel, very smooth finish of the current models, but having like a sort of more matte chassis like the Apple Watch Ultra has I would honestly really like that. Kind of maybe even a grippier texture or something like that would be cool. Or if they just shine the titanium up too, that'd be cool too. Just to say your phone is made of titanium, because you can.
Yep. But yeah, I think there's some like hints that Apple may be exploring a periscope camera, which would be cool.
That'd be cool.
Because I definitely do enjoy zooming more than I thought I would ever. But I think most people enjoy zooming not with their feet, but with their finger. Yes. It's just a better experience for most.
I wonder like what zoom level Apple would go to, because you got like the Samsung ones that are like 100x periscope zoom, and it's like I don't know if Apple would go that far. I think more like 10, maybe 25x would be like good, and they could probably get some good glass in there with, you know, still a good aperture and everything. It'd be interesting to see, but yeah, periscope cameras are super cool.
Yeah, so it's gonna come later this year, as with most new iPhones. So we just have to wait for it, I guess.
Yeah.
I almost wish Apple did not release iPhones on a cadence, and they did just kind of surprise us, because then you end up getting more excited for them, right? Or maybe it's just been so many at this point that like we started like losing our excitement for it. Yeah. Like I'm excited the day of, but then it's not like it used to be, right?
It's true. I think they'll always continue to do it though on a yearly cadence, just because they have the Apple upgrade program, and that sucks so many people, including myself, into another year loan with Apple. I'm constantly paying $60 for my phone, and I've been doing that for years now. It's just get a new phone every year. I like it, but I'm always stuck with a loan. So yeah, times that by millions of people, and no wonder if they've got billions of dollars sitting in Ireland.
Yeah. Real-time follow-up. It's called Camo Studio 2 is the app that allows you to turn off center stage. So yeah, definitely go check it out if you have a studio display or any other camera that you want to use for your video recording needs. And yeah,
I wonder if that works on the iPads that also have center stage.
It is a Mac app, so unless Apple brings AppKit to the iPad, no.
You should consider that, Apple, just for that. No other reason.
I mean, you should consider for all sorts of different apps.
No, just that one.
But yeah, just that one. I wish there was Sketch for the iPad. But Affinity has taken that market because everyone kind of left it to be there. So... Yep. Thanks, Sketch, not making an iPad app.
Didn't they get bought out or something? Or am I thinking about that
Figma
wrong?
got bought out, and then it's like the government is preventing them from being bought. I'm not too sure what's going on. Figma is like, side note, I don't like Figma.
I agree.
I'm amazed that it got it was free to use, available everywhere. That's how it caught on. As with most things, but like not the greatest piece of software, but everyone loves it.
Yep. I don't know why,
because they don't know what's better, I guess. I don't know, like there must be a name for this phenomenon where like everyone kind of just starts loving something that's not great, and maybe that's us liking Apple stuff because lately it's not great, but yeah.
There's not a Windows version of Sketch, is there?
And there is not. They did start making a web version because Figma was eating their lunch. And that's... Now they're kind of in panic mode, right? They like laid off a bunch of their staff. And I don't know what's next. It seems like the Mac apps is still getting regular updates. So that's at least a good sign. Maybe they just downsized... in accordance to like where they could actually sustain themselves, rather than try to grow out of nowhere because they were doing so well growing like naturally without investment money and all that.
Yeah.
So
That's
that was really sad to hear that they took money and then
that's
kind
the
of lost
problem,
that bet.
man. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, taking VC money is scary for sure. As I would know as a founder
As
of
a single person.
many companies.
Yes, on this podcast, for instance, we've taken much VC money in the form of sponsorship deals
For free that we
for
have
free.
literally made no money on ever.
Hey, we're promoting our friends, and that's what
true.
counts.
That's true.
On the topic of promoting your friends, it seems like Apple wants all their friends to go try out this thing called Bitcoin. And I'm not serious about that, but there is an app called Image Capture, which has been on every Mac for a very long time. And that app, by the way, is a great app to scan stuff or import stuff from cameras if you have never tried those things. That's its main use. And in the bundle of that app, so if you right click on the app on your computer and say show package contents, you can get a sneak peek as to how an app is made. And in there is the Bitcoin white paper, which is just like a scanned resource, probably a test resource that wasn't intended to make it in.
No one's caught it though. It's been around since Mojave, so 2018.
Yay!
It's named under simpledoc.pdf, which is like, okay, I don't know if you run some sort of file name scan.
It's a unit
for
test.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they just named it something generic. It's not called like Bitcoin white paper or anything. So unless you open it, you're not gonna really know or care what it is. But yeah, I tested it out, and obviously I'm just on whatever we're on Ventura. It's there, so kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's almost like all those YouTubers getting hacked to show videos of Elon talking about Tesla. Like Apple's trying to do the same thing, hacking one app at a time. Not at all. Please don't believe a single word of what I just said. I'm gonna guess Bitcoin used to be considered something cool before it started actively burning down the planet, and it has probably been used as the like the unit test for image capture, and as a result they can't just remove it because it would break the tests, and therefore like 20 minutes of time needs to go into actually removing it rather than 2 minutes.
Yeah,
so it didn't happen yet.
Throw in a PDF of like the lorem ipsum and you're good. I don't know.
But that would be boring, Spencer.
The lorem ipsum is awesome. I love it. Interesting to see what people both put into macOS, just because like, yeah, it's a unit, it's something to test against, and then it's so fun. I love that people will just actively look into things. Like, I don't know how this came out. It said that someone internally filed a report about it like a year ago or something, and it got sent to the person that put it in, so nothing's happened yet. But it's fun to see that people are like dedicated into like checking out what's new in macOS and just digging around into whatever for whatever reason. Like I remember Steve Troughton Smith, I think it was him, finding the sort of icon images for like the iPhone 10 with the notch, and everyone went crazy because it was, there was nothing else about it and stuff. So it's fun to just look into that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even if you're not like actively spelunking for leaked secrets, mm-hmm. It is a generally useful thing to do if you know there's an app and they have this icon resource and you want to use a similar icon resource for your own app. Like, you can go in and actually get that like PDF that represents that icon, to like trace it or modify it to your needs. Like, that is absolutely a technique that many developers do, and it's very good that macOS has, up until this point, had a very open way of doing that. Right, iOS has always been way more complicated to do this with. But Mac OS it's just there, right? All your apps are on your hard drive, and you have access to your hard drive, and therefore you can go ahead and check them out. So it's a very open system to get various different resources. My favorite place is in System, if I remember, System Library Core Services, and in there you can find like every icon, like in existence that you never thought
nice.
of, that is just like hiding, and just like poke around and see if there's anything that you fancy in there. I use them for custom folders. I brought down my file server because I put custom icons on those folders from the stuff in there. Like, there's one of every modern Mac that has ever been made, that's specifically there to show up on like file shares, right? When you have like AirDrop and you have all the different computers. Well, if you want to use those for anything, like, there you go. I'm not saying like you have the copyright to do all that, yada yada yada, but that's boring. They're available and you can do stuff for your own. For your own sake, and yeah, it's available.
Yeah.
Don't take legal advice from me, please.
Yeah, not legal experts.
It's boring. Something that's not boring is this week's episode of Code Completion is once again brought to you by Bon Voyage. Bon Voyage is a full-stack iOS application development course from Johnny B. With this course, you'll learn how to build both a full iOS client app and an associated React web administration application. The app and the site will integrate with Firebase, as well as Stripe and Plaid for payment processing. Bon Voyage is a place to book extravagant vacations, and you'll gain the skills to build the iOS app from the ground up and integrate everything you need to provide a world-class vacation booking experience. To find out more and sign up with the course, visit bonvoyage.app/course. That's bon-voyage.app/course. And be sure to follow Bon Voyage's instructor at Johnny B Codes on Twitter. That's JONNYBCODES to stay up to date with all his courses. Thanks again to Bon Voyage e-commerce app course for sponsoring Code Completion. So, Spencer, I've got a Code Completion tip for you.
All right.
And that is all around protocol composition. So whenever you're designing an API, sometimes you come up with a protocol, and then you come up with a different protocol, and you want something to conform to both.
Yeah.
Well, you can use the ampersand character to kind of compose those protocols into one. In fact, you've probably used a composed protocol many times, and that is Codable. Codable is decodable and encodable in one. You can choose to only conform to one of those, which is definitely useful if, say, you're on the server and you only need to decode the requests. You never need to encode the requests. Right. You can go ahead and do that. But it is certainly way more practical to have Codable be a single thing that you can conform to. So you can make a type alias that says Codable is equal to decodable and encodable. And that makes a protocol composition. I was reminded of these because I am currently in TypeScript land, which is not Swift, and tries very hard to, like, I am a modern programming language, but it is not Swift. And it has something extra wacky called union types. And this is kind of like protocol composition, except you can do whatever you want, and types don't actually exist. That's just a small asterisk. But you can basically say, hey, this can be a string or a number. And that's actually legitimately useful under some circumstances. Except it kind of all falls apart whenever you have, like, oh, this conforms to this interface or this interface. Which one does it conform to? Well, unless you have a property on both of those that has a value that you can kind of if check, you're kind of out of luck. So unlike TypeScript, Swift actually allows you to check at runtime for individual protocol conformance, or you can do it at compile time with generics, and get some good benefit out of everything being composable. So definitely give this a try the next time you're kind of designing your own API for your own little app. Yes, you don't have to over-engineer stuff for your own apps, but yes, you should over-engineer stuff for your own apps because then you learn. And
yeah, that's a good one. That came out, well, I wanted to say relatively recently, probably not, like Swift 4 or something, right? I think.
Yeah.
I guess
I
probably
think it
around
was
the same time
before.
when Codable. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one, though. For sure.
As always, I want to personally thank everyone for listening in this week. Please be sure to follow us on mastodon.social at Code Completion to know when new episodes go live, and feel free to toot at us if there's ever a topic you'd like for us to dig into. Most importantly, as a small podcast, please be sure to share this with your friends and family who are also interested in any part of the process of app development. It's your support that enables us to continue doing this, and we hope to grow a healthy community around everything we discuss. Once again, I want to give my thanks to Spencer, who is at Spencer C. Curtis, that's SpencerCurtis, for joining me this week. My name, once again, is Dimitri. You can find me at Dimitri Buniol, that's DimitриBouniol, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.